I'm Blake Reed, 30 single mom pulling night shifts as an oil engineer. My 6-year-old Dash keeps me running with his hyperactive bursts and anxiety spikes ever since the divorce 2 years back. That Thanksgiving morning, I was slicing leftover turkey for his lunchbox when the family group chat exploded like a rig flare. Harlan dropped the bomb Taylor's first read Thanksgiving. "Don't embarrass us this time. Mom just hit." Dad piled on. "Stay home, Blake. Better safe than sorry." My fingers hovered over the screen. I typed, "Understood." Set the phone face down. A few hours later, the phone detonated, 37 missed calls flashing like a warning flare in the dim kitchen. If your family ever shut you out on a holiday, just to save face, hit subscribe. Real stories drop weekly. By noon, the audio file dropped into the chat like a pipe bomb. I had just hit the microwave buttons for a sad little turkey dinner when the notification pinged. Herbert Dad had forgotten to mute his mic during what he thought was a private call. 25 seconds of crystal clear Venom single mom package deal. Can't risk Reed reputation in front of Taylor's folks from Dallas. I froze with the plate in one hand and AirPods in my ears. The words looped, each syllable drilling deeper. My grip loosened. The knife slipped, nicked the edge of my thumb, nothing deep. Just enough for a bead of blood to roll into the gravy boat. A perfect red dot swirling in beige. Symbolic, almost poetic. Footsteps pattered behind me. Dash burst in wearing his dinosaur pajamas, hair wild from a nap. "Mom, why are you upset?" I yanked the buds out, forced a smile that felt like cracked plastic, and wiped my face with the back of my wrist. "Just tired, buddy. Let's watch something fun." I scooped him up, settled us on the kitchen floor, and cued Frozen on the tablet. Elsa's Ice Palace filled the screen while Dash leaned against my side, humming off-key. We ate straight from the microwave trays, turkey chunks, lumpy mashed canned cranberries sliding off the edge. Dash arranged his Lego bricks in strict red then blue rows, tongue poking out in concentration. I watched the way his small fingers trembled when he reached for the next piece, the same tremor I felt in my own hands. He deserved routines that didn't involve being cropped out of family photos or shoved into corners. Watching him build that tiny wall of color, something clicked. This wasn't sustainable. Their version of family was a stage, and we were the props they kept off camera. I carried the empty trays to the sink, rinsed the blood swirl down the drain, and opened my laptop on the counter. The desktop wallpaper was still a photo from last Christmas, Dash on my hip. Harlan smirking in the background, Mom and Dad beaming like we were all one big happy oil dynasty. I hovered over the folder labeled Read Family. One click to select all, another to delete. The progress bar crawled, then vanished. Empty recycle bin. Gone. I stared at the blank screen for a long minute, thumb still stinging. No more curated smiles. No more pretending the night shifts were temporary, or that Dash's meltdowns were just a phase. I closed the lid, slid it into the drawer, and pulled Dash into my lap. He smelled like crayons and microwave butter. "Hey, little man," I whispered into his hair. "We're gonna build something better." He didn't answer, just kept stacking bricks higher and steadier. Outside, the Tulsa wind rattled the cheap blinds, but inside our tiny kitchen, the only sound was Lego snapping together and the faint echo of Elsa singing about letting it go. For the first time all day, my breathing slowed to match his. The microwave beeped again. I'd forgotten the rolls. I pulled them out, steam curling up, and broke one in half for Dash. He took a bite, crumbs on his chin, eyes glued to the screen. I chewed slowly, tasting nothing. The audio replayed in my head on silent repeat. Package deal, reputation, Dallas folks. Every word a brick in the wall they'd built between us. I set my half-eaten roll down and opened the fridge. Inside, half a carton of milk, 3 yogurts, a wilted carrot. Thanksgiving for 1.5 people. I grabbed the milk, poured it into a plastic cup with a faded Paw Patrol sticker, and handed it to Dash. He drank without looking away from Anna and Kristoff. My phone buzzed on the counter. Another notification, probably Harlan demanding confirmation I'd stay away. I didn't check. Instead, I pulled up my work email on the laptop. Shift schedule for next week. 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. 4 on 3 off. The pay stub attached showed overtime I hadn't requested but desperately needed. Rent was due in 5 days. Daycare pickup ended at 5:30. Math that never added up. Dash yawned, Lego tower wobbling. Bedtime soon, I said. He nodded, rubbed his eyes. I carried him to the couch, our bed since the divorce, and tucked him under the quilt my grandma sewn before she passed. He clutched his favorite red brick like a teddy bear. I sat on the floor beside him, back against the couch, and opened the banking app. Balance $312.47. Upcoming bills $1,840. I closed the app, rested my head on the cushion. Dash's breathing evened out. The tablet auto-dimmed, then shut off. In the quiet, I pulled up the audio file again just to be sure I hadn't imagined it. Dad's voice filled the AirPods one more time, lower volume now. Same words. Same sting. I deleted the file, blocked the chat thread, and turned off notifications entirely. No more pings. No more flares. I stood stretched and walked to the window. Tulsa lights blinked in the distance, refinery stacks glowing orange against the gray sky. My world. Night shifts, single mom invisible, but not powerless. I cracked the window an inch. Cold air slipped in, carrying the faint smell of crude and possibility. Back in the kitchen, I wiped the counter clean, bandaged my thumb with a cartoon strip, and started a new note on my phone. Boundaries. Support. Future. 3 words. A plan. Dash murmured in his sleep. I kissed his forehead, whispered goodnight, and left the lamp on low. Tomorrow would bring new shifts, new fights, new small victories. Tonight, the wall was down. We were starting fresh. 3 weeks later, Harlan texted Taylor's hosting, family-only dress code, business casual. I stared at the message during my lunch break at the rig grease on my fingers from a sandwich wrapper. Harlan never asked, he announced. Taylor, his girlfriend of 8 months, the one with the perfect Instagram grid, was finally hosting at the old Reed mansion. I showed Dash the text on the drive home. He kicked his feet in the booster seat. Do we get pie? We arrived at dusk. My beat-up Ford F-150 rattled up the long driveway, gravel crunching under tires that needed replacing. The mansion loomed 3 stories of brick and excess chandelier visible through the front windows like a diamond necklace on display. Bourbon scent hit us the second the door opened, mixed with roasted garlic and forced smiles. Harlan greeted us in a tailored blazer, Taylor at his side in a silk blouse the color of money. Glad you made it, he said, eyes scanning my work boots. Mom Irene swept in with air kisses, pearls clacking. Blake dear, parking in the back next time the valets get confused. They led us to the dining room. Long mahogany table set for 12 crystal goblets catching the cold overhead light that made everything look sterile. Harlan and Taylor claimed the center seats, flanked by cousins I barely recognized. Irene launched into her spiel before we sat. Harlan just closed a $2 million flip in Nichols Hills, record time. Investors are lining up. Applause rippled. Harlan beamed. I guided Dash to the only spot left, a folding plastic chair shoved against the kitchen pass-through, half hidden by a potted fern. No placemat, no silverware, just a paper plate and plastic fork. Dash climbed up, knees barely reaching the edge, swinging his legs. He looked around, confused by the height difference, then at me with wide eyes. I knelt beside him, adjusting the chair so it didn't wobble. It's okay, I murmured, but my stomach twisted. The main table chatter rose: property values, closing costs, Taylor's dad's golf handicap. Dash tugged my sleeve. Mom, why am I over here? Before I could answer, Taylor pulled out her phone, angling for the perfect shot. Flash. She cropped Dash out in one swipe, fingers flying. The story posted: perfect read Thanksgiving with a filter that made the chandelier sparkle like stars. I saw it over her shoulder, the frame tight on Harlan, Irene, and the cousins. Dash erased like he'd never existed. Harlan noticed my stare. He shrugged, sipping bourbon. He's fine. Corners are cozy for kids. Dash fidgeted, fork scraping the plate. A cousin laughed too loud at something Taylor said. The cold light above us buzzed faintly, casting shadows that made Dash's face look small and lost. I stood heart pounding in a different way now, not fear, but clarity. This wasn't a seat. It was a statement. I took Dash's hand. We're leaving, buddy. Let's go make our own memories. He hopped down without question, trusting as always. Harlan's brow furrowed. Dinner's just starting. Irene hissed, Blake, don't make a scene. Taylor lowered her phone, smile faltering. I didn't respond. We walked through the foyer past the bourbon haze and crystal glint. The front door clicked shut behind us. Outside, the air was crisp, stars punching holes in the Oklahoma sky. Gravel crunched slow under our shoes, each step, deliberate tension uncoiling with the night. Dash squeezed my fingers. Are we getting pie now? I lifted him into the truck, buckled him in. Better than pie. Ice cream sundaes at home. The engine turned over with a familiar rumble. As we pulled away, the mansion shrank in the rearview chandelier, flickering like a distant dying star. The drive home took 20 minutes, but it felt longer with Dash chattering about the fern and the funny chair. I gripped the wheel knuckles white, replaying the evening in fragments. Irene's pearls, Harlan's blazer, Taylor's flash, the way the cousins never even glanced our way. Dash's paper plate. We stopped at the corner store for vanilla bean and sprinkles. Dash picked rainbow ones. Back in our apartment, I scooped generous bowls while he changed into pajamas. We ate on the couch, chocolate sauce dripping on his chin. He giggled when I wiped it with my thumb. This is better, he declared. I agreed. No bourbon, no cold light, no cropped photos. Just us. I tucked him in later, reading 2 chapters of his dinosaur book until his eyes drooped. In the dark, I sat on the edge of his bed, listening to his steady breaths. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of the fridge. My phone stayed in the truck. No notifications, no guilt. I poured myself a glass of water, leaned against the counter, and let the silence settle. The plastic chair image burned behind my eyelids. Dash's confusion. My own rage simmering low. I opened the freezer, pulled out a frozen pizza for tomorrow's dinner, and stuck a note on it. Our table, our rules. Small rebellion, necessary. Sleep came in fits. Dreams of mahogany tables and endless bourbon pours. I woke before dawn, checked on Dash. He was curled tight, red brick, clutched like always. I brewed coffee strong and black, and watched the sky shift from ink to gray. Work called at 5. I kissed Dash goodbye, left him with the neighbor who watched him on late shifts. The rig waited steel and noise and purpose, but the evening lingered, a bruise I couldn't ignore. January oil prices crashed, and so did my sleep schedule. I stopped checking the chat the night we left the mansion. Notifications off, app buried in a folder labeled later. The silence was deafening at first, then liberating. No more pings pulling me into their orbit. I filled the void with action. A coworker mentioned Tulsa Single Moms in Energy during a break room coffee run. Support group for women in the field, she said. I signed up that afternoon. First Zoom call was a Thursday at 7. Already in bed, me and headphones at the kitchen table. The grid filled with tired faces. Jasper appeared first, mid-40s widower, running a small drilling consulting firm since his wife passed. Lost her to cancer 2 years ago, he shared in a gravelly voice. Kids are grown, but the nights still hit hard. Nolan joined next night shift, ER nurse, ponytail pulled tight, coffee mug steaming. I swap shifts with oil moms all the time. We get the invisible grind. We talked for 90 minutes overtime, pay daycare gaps the way exhaustion creeps into bones. Jasper suggested a hotline. Something anonymous 24/7. Nolan volunteered to train volunteers. I offered my engineering contacts for funding. By the end, we had a name, 1-800 Oil Mind, for night shift oil workers who felt invisible and exhausted. I registered the number the next day, set up voicemail with a calm script, "You're not alone." Leave a message or press 1 to speak live. First call came at 2:14 a.m., a roughneck from Ponca City voice, cracking about missing his daughter's birthday. I talked him through breathing exercises I'd learned from Dash's therapist. He thanked me and hung up calmer. Dash started online school in January. The district approved it after I submitted anxiety documentation. Mornings became sacred. I set 3 alarm clocks, one for his wake-up, one for breakfast, one for login. Routine was armor. He logged in at 8 sharp, headphones on, virtual teacher waving hello. No more meltdowns over crowded hallways. I watched from the doorway, coffee in hand. His focus improved, fewer fidget spells, more completed assignments. Afternoons were ours, park walks when weather allowed, library trips for dinosaur books. Evenings, I prepped dinner before my shift, leaving notes on the fridge. Eat veggies, first buddy, love mom. The hotline grew. Jasper secured a small grant from a local union. Nolan trained 5 volunteers, 2 pipeline techs, a refinery operator, a single dad mechanic. Calls averaged 10 a night. Stories poured in, divorce papers served on the rig, kids forgetting faces, bosses dismissing burnout. I answered when I could, voice steady even on 4 hours sleep. One caller, a woman named Carla from Cushing, cried about her ex skipping child support. He says the oil life is too hard for family. I shared my own story, brief, no names. She laughed through tears. Guess we're the package deal they warn about. We ended with resources and a promise to check in. I designed flyers at the library, printer, bold letters, rig silhouette, the hotline number. Posted them in break rooms, truck stops, union halls. Responses trickled, then flooded. A Facebook group spun up, private, moderated by Nolan. Membership hit 200 in 2 weeks. Dash noticed the change. Mom, you smile more. I ruffled his hair. Because we're building something solid. He nodded, serious, then asked for extra screen time to research volcanoes. I ordered business cards online, simple white stock, clean font. Blake Reed, night shift engineer and single mom advocate. Underneath, the hotline and email. First batch arrived on a Tuesday. I slipped one into my wallet, another into Dash's backpack just in case. Jasper called to brainstorm expansion. Podcast guest speakers. Nolan pushed for in-person meetups once COVID rules eased. I agreed to both. Energy shifted from surviving to leading. The rig felt different too. Coworkers nodded at my cards, shared their own struggles. One handed me a donation check for the hotline, $500, no strings. Dash's teacher emailed progress reports. Improved engagement, fewer absences. I printed it, stuck it on the fridge next to his volcano drawing. Routine worked. Structure healed. By month's end, 1-800-OIL-MIND had a website, basic, mobile-friendly, testimonials anonymized. Jasper handled tech, Nolan content me the vision. Calls stabilized at 20 nightly. Volunteers rotated shifts. I took the graveyard slot, fit my schedule. One night a caller recognized my voice. You're the one who left the fancy dinner, right? Word gets around. I chuckled. Focus on you, not gossip. He did. We talked safety protocols and sleep hygiene. He promised to call back. I hung up, stretched and checked Dash through the baby monitor, sleeping deep, alarm clocks silent. The apartment felt bigger somehow. Cards on the counter gleamed under the lamp. Advocate. The word fit. Dash turned 7 in March and the mailbox coughed up a cream envelope. I spotted it wedged between junk mail and a utility bill. Thick stock, no return address handwriting I recognized instantly. Inside, a single card, unsigned, but unmistakably, Mom's looping script. We'd like to know when Dash is ready to join properly this time. The words dripped with the same conditional love I'd tasted at the dinner table. Pressure wrapped in politeness. I set it on the counter face down and focused on the cake. Costco chocolate fudge, 7 candles in a crooked circle. Dash bounced in the living room wearing the dinosaur cape I'd sewn from an old t-shirt. Is it time yet? Almost, I called, lighting the candles one by one. He scrambled to the table, eyes wide. We sang off key, me, him, and the neighbor's cat watching from the window. He inhaled, cheeks puffing and blue. Wax dripped onto frosting. Perfect chaos. I snapped photos on my phone, dash mid-laugh, chocolate on his nose, cape flapping. No filters, no staging. Later, while he demolished his slice, I opened Instagram out of habit. Taylor's profile loaded first. There it was, her repost of the old story, the one where she'd cropped dash clean out. Caption unchanged. Family first. Posted yesterday right after the card arrived. My thumb froze. Harlan's handiwork, no doubt. A PR move to smooth things over, show the world the reads were healing without actually changing a thing. Use Dash as a prop to keep investors smiling. I closed the app, heart steady but resolved. I created a private album titled Dash and Me. Uploaded the birthday shots, candle smoke curling, his grin smeared with fudge. Locked it to friends only, Jasper, Nolan, a few rig coworkers. No public tags, no hashtags. Our memories shielded. Dash licked his fork clean. Best cake ever. I kissed the top of his head. Only the best for 7. He ran off to play cape trailing. I picked up the envelope, tore it in half, then quarters. Pieces fluttered into the trash like confetti from a party they weren't invited to. The pressure ignored. Properly this time meant on our terms. 6 months later, Reese emailed from the Tulsa Convention Center. Reese, my old college roommate who'd traded textbooks for nonprofit grants, wrote in one line, keynote for Single Moms in Energy. Your story fits. The attachment was a sleek PDF, Saturday, September 18, 2:00 p.m. slot, 30 minutes, no slides required. I read it on the rig catwalk, wind whipping my coveralls, coffee sloshing in a dented thermos. Dash was at after-school art club. The apartment waited empty. I typed back, count me in. The next 8 weeks, blurred. Reese sent run-of-show docs, speaker guidelines, a rider for water, and a handheld mic. I rehearsed in the shower, in the truck, in the grocery aisle, short sentences. No names, just truth. Jasper and Nolan beta-tested versions over Zoom. Cut the fluff, Nolan said. Hit the gut. I did. Conference day dawned clear. I dropped Dash with the sitter at 9, kissed his forehead, promised ice cream if he finished his volcano model. By 10:30, I was downtown, badge clipped to the only blazer I owned, navy, bought on clearance after the divorce. Backstage smelled of fresh paint and industrial coffee urns. Organizers and headsets hustled, clipboards flapping like startled birds. Reese found me near craft services. You good? I nodded. Born for this? The auditorium seated 500. Rows filled, fast women in steel-toe boots, blazers over Carhartt name tags from Exxon, Chevron, local unions. Lights dim to oil rig green LEDs that pulsed like pump jacks. Air conditioning blasted Arctic, raising goosebumps on my arms. I stepped onto the stage, microphone heavy in my palm. Spotlights warmed my face. I inhaled deep, tasting metal and possibility. I spoke without slides. Short, raw sentences. The night shifts that paid bills but stole sleep. The family table where my son sat on plastic while deals closed in millions. The moment I walked out, hand in his tiny one. No names, just truth. The room leaned in. A few nods, some tears. I ended with reputation isn't love. Silence hung, then thunderous applause. I bowed slightly, heart racing but steady. I'd mailed invitations weeks earlier, formal cards to Mom, Dad, Harlan. Figured they'd ignore them. But scanning the crowd from the podium, I spotted them in row 3. Irene, arms crossed tight, face stone. Herbert, dad, beside her, checking his Rolex like time owed him money. Harlan, absent. They didn't clap, didn't stand. Just watched, frozen. Reese met me backstage. You killed it. The session recorded professionally, live-streamed too. By evening, clips circulated. Hashtags bloomed. She's single moms in energy. Car reputation isn't love. Sunday morning views hit 300K. Monday 500K. By Tuesday afternoon 700K in 48 hours. Comments flooded, women sharing parallel stories. Oil towns tagged emojis of fists and hearts. One stood out pinned by a verified account. "This is my mom." From a roughneck in Wyoming profile pic with his daughter on his shoulders. The video spread beyond Oklahoma. LinkedIn shares industry forums, even a national energy podcast snippet. Invites trickled guest spots, panels, mentoring requests. I forwarded the best to Jasper and Nolan. We built a response team. At home, Dash watched the clip on my phone, eyes wide. "That's you on stage?" I nodded. "Speaking for us." He hugged my leg. "Cool." The read stayed silent. No texts, no calls. Their row 3 stares replayed in my mind, cold, calculating. But the applause drowned them out. Community had spoken louder. I printed the Wyoming comment, stuck it on the fridge next to Dash's volcano. Proof that words travel farther than blood. One Tuesday, the gate camera pinged at 7:03 a.m., Harlan's Tesla. I was pouring cereal when the app buzzed on my phone. Harlan stood outside the wrought iron gate, tie, loose eyes ringed purple like he hadn't slept in days. The car idled behind him, sleek white against our cracked driveway. I set the bowl down, wiped my hands on a dish towel, and opened the intercom. He cleared his throat, voice gravelly. "Taylor left. Said she can't handle Reed favoritism." The words hung in the crisp morning air. I pressed the speaker button. "Come to the door." He walked up the path, shoes scuffing gravel that needed sweeping. I met him on the porch, arms folded tight across my chest. Dash's laughter echoed from the living room, Lego bricks clacking as he built a spaceship with booster rockets. Harlan glanced past me, shoulders sagging. "Can I see him?" "I'm sorry, Blake. For everything, the dinner, the crop, all of it." I stepped aside just enough for him to peer through the glass panel. Dash knelt on the rug, tongue out in concentration, stacking a blue wing onto the fuselage. He looked up, spotted Harlan, and froze for a second. Eyes curious but wary through the pain, then he waved small before returning to his ship. Harlan's voice cracked like thin ice. "Hey, buddy." "Uncle Harlan." Dash added a red cockpit, oblivious to the weight in the air. I watched Harlan's face crumple, regret raw and unfiltered. My resolve hardened like cured concrete. I pulled out my phone, opened email attached, the PDF I'd prepared months ago with my lawyer after the keynote buzz. Subject line: updated estate documents for Dash Reed. Body text simple: Dash's inheritance, protected godparents designated Jasper and Nolan. I hit send. The whoosh sound cut the silence like a valve release. Harlan's phone dinged in his pocket. He fished it out with trembling fingers, scanned the screen, face paling. "You're cutting us out." I met his eyes, voice level. "Protecting him from the favoritism Taylor couldn't handle." He opened his mouth, closed. It glanced back at Dash, who now tested the spaceship's landing gear. Harlan stepped back, hands raised in surrender. "I get it. I do." I tapped the gate app on my phone. Motors hummed, iron bars slid shut with a final decisive clank. Harlan stood on the other side, Tesla, waiting like a silent witness to his defeat. He didn't move for a long moment, then turned, shoulders slumped, and drove away without another word. Inside, Dash called out, "Mom, look, rocket boosters." I knelt beside him on the rug, added a yellow flame piece to the exhaust. Independence tasted like plastic bricks and cereal milk, sweet and solid. The rest of the morning unfolded in quiet routine. I finished breakfast, packed Dash's lunch turkey sandwich, apple slices, note that said, "Fly high today." Dropped him at school, kissed the top of his head. The PDF confirmation email sat unread in my inbox. I archived it without opening. At the rig, coworkers asked about the keynote clip still circulating. I shrugged, changed the subject to torque specs. Harlan's visit lingered like a faint odor, but the gate had closed, literally and otherwise. Evening brought homework and bath time. Dash recounted his spaceship's imaginary mission to Mars. I listened, braided his damp hair, tucked him in with the red brick under his pillow. The monitor glowed soft blue in the hall. I poured a glass of water, stood at the kitchen window. The gate stood sentinel, no Tesla in sight. Jasper texted Heard from a mutual Harlan's spiraling. Good call on the docks. Nolan followed proud of you, Mama Bear. I smiled, typed back hearts. The PDF was ironclad trust-locked godparents' official contingencies for every scenario. Dash's future shielded from read games. Harlan's apology echoed hollow. Action spoke louder, and mine had roared. I saved the gate camera footage, time-stamped proof if needed, then deleted the app notification. Clean slate. Sleep came easier that night. No pings, no flares. Just the hum of the fridge and Dash's steady breathing down the hall. Independence wasn't lonely, it was liberating. Next Thanksgiving, the chandelier was on eBay for $12K. A mutual friend sent the link. Crystal arms splayed in a poorly lit photo, starting bid slashed from the original six figures. Harlan had lost a massive land flip contract. The client cited reputational risk after stumbling on my keynote clip. Word spread in boardrooms faster than crude prices. Irene handled the fire sale. She listed the chandelier, then the dining table, then the bourbon cabinet. I drove past the mansion, once window's dark foyer echoing with each footstep on bare marble. No valets, no pearls, just dust motes dancing in slanted sun. We hosted at the community center instead. Folding tables draped in orange paper string lights twinkling like low-watt stars. 40 single moms from the network showed up, kids in tow, potluck dishes steaming. Jasper manned the grill outside. Nolan organized games in the gym. Dash stood on a milk crate at the kids' table, plastic knife in hand, sawing the turkey with theatrical grunts. Gravy splattered his shirt. He laughed so hard his eyes watered. The single moms cheered him on phones out for videos that would never crop anyone. The room glowed, warm, fluorescent bulbs wrapped in tissue paper, laughter bouncing off cinderblock walls. No cold LEDs, no bourbon haze. Just cider scent and pie crusts cooling on windowsills. I raised a plastic cup of sparkling apple juice. To chosen family, the ones who lift you up. Glasses clinked. Dash echoed chosen family and chugged his juice foam on his upper lip. The night ended with pie crumbs and group photos, everyone in frame, no exceptions.